Hi everyone, it's me again. So this is my second video in my series, I guess. And I have a confession to make. This is all so new to me. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm trying to do the best that I can. And even though I felt like from my first video that I needed to take you all on my journey as I learn the lessons that I'm learning from Jesus, and it's all helping me towards my calling and my purpose on this planet. But I have no idea what to talk to you guys about. There's so much happening. There's so many things that have been going on in my life and on this journey. I have no idea how to organize it, put it together. And to be honest with you, I've been putting it off. I keep putting it off because I'm nervous. I'm nervous about who's going to listen to me, who's going to watch this, who's going to look at me. And I'm always worried about how I look, just everything. And I finally realized that, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for you. And God called me to do it. And how it started was I was giving at our church on Wednesday evenings, we have praise and prayer reports, and you can ask for prayer from people if there's a need for it in your life. And then there's praise reports where you tell everyone what Jesus and God has done for you, some miracle or some blessing that you received. Well, I have so many things happening to me, and so many blessings and so many praise reports that they were this huge hit at my church, and everybody would wait to see, do you have a praise report? We want to hear your praise report, because they were remarkable stories. So one day on my walk, I like to pray when I'm going for a walk, and I was asking Jesus to allow me the time and the opportunity to be able to give my praise report, because he had done something amazing for me that day, and I wanted to share it. And then I heard him say, it's time to give your praise reports to the world. Let everyone know, let everyone hear what I'm doing in your life. And then I heard YouTube, and I thought, ooh, that's scary. Who does that? I don't know how to do that. And so anyway, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. And I was having a really hard time trying to figure out, what do I talk about? How do I put this in order? How do I make it so it's interesting? And then I realized, you know what? It's not up to me. I don't have to be perfect at this. I just have to give you my heart and tell you what I'm experiencing. And it's up to God to get the right people to listen if they need to hear this. So that's what I'm doing. So I look like a mess. I'm hot. So I got my hair up because it's super heavy and hot. And it is what it is. So you will see me in the next videos. I'll be a mess. I'll have no makeup. I guess you just kind of stuck with me the way that I am, because that's the best I can do. So anyway, since he simplified it for me and said, just give it as your praise reports. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on a praise report and a lesson that I had learned, that God taught me, that has been life-changing and pivotal. And I know there are people out there who need to hear this too. So the one that I picked to share with you today is judging people, thinking that you know better, or you are better, and how by not doing it, how drastically your life will change for the better. So I realized from reading the Bible, when I read Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 and 2, where it says, do not judge and criticize and condemn others unfairly with an attitude of self-righteousness, superiority, as though assuming the office of a judge, so that you will not be judged unfairly. For just as you hypocritically judge others when you are sinful and unrepentant, so will you be judged. And in accordance with your standard of measure used to pass out judgment, judgment will be measured to you. And I thought, whoa, I have an issue. So with that being said, if you watched my first video, you would know that I had a rough time in my for most of my youth, if not all of it, well, actually all of my youth, with bullying and being picked on and not measuring up and just a lot of abuse, not by my family, but by the world around me. And it was really, it molded me into something I never wanted to really be. It was not something fun. But what I did is I remembered in high school that if another kid was being picked on and they were kind of ignoring me, that I then would pick on that kid and unmercifully, so that all the attention would be off of me and on that kid. So I would get some relief. So I would actually be a part of everyone else and the cool kids. And while I bashed and battered some poor child, that I knew better. I knew the pain. I knew the suffering. I knew how horrid it feels to be picked on. And yet I did it in order to just divert the attention from me. And then over the years, as things went on, and the more that I compromised in my life and compromised my beliefs and things, things that I knew I needed to do, things that I knew were right, but I still sinned, but because it was easier. It was easier than dealing with the truth of my life and the truth of things going on around me. So I was real good at maneuvering my way around and lying through my teeth left and right to try and get out of doing things because I was so tired all the time. And for those of you who, if you didn't watch the first video, I'm a severe narcoleptic, which means you are really tired constantly. I had a doctor at Cleveland Clinic, a neurologist, tell me that when I told him, I said, people don't understand how tired I am all the time. And he said, you tell them that it's the equivalent to them being awake for 48 to 72 hours straight. And that's the level of fatigue that I feel constantly. Well, back then, I wasn't even diagnosed with it. So I had no idea what was wrong with me. So it was a whole mess. But anyway, so with that being said, I learned, unfortunately, how to judge other people and be unkind to other people because I thought I knew what they were going through or what they're thinking or what, and it was always as a means of, if I judge that person or point out what's going on with that person, then the people I was with wouldn't notice how screwed up and unpleasant I am. I know that's a backwards way of thinking, but I think a lot of people in this world do that. They're extremely judgmental and unkind, thinking that they know best. And I learned in a very profound way why I wasn't. So God sets us up and puts us in positions for a reason. There are no accidents on this earth. Matter of fact, according to the Hebrew language, there is no word for coincidence, and Jesus is Hebrew. And so there is no coincidence. I completely agree with that. God sets things up one way or the other to give you an opportunity to rise to the top or just to fall completely down. So I was placed in when I mean placed, Jesus blessed me with a job at a secondhand store that I absolutely loved. Wonderful people. They're my second family, and that alone was a blessing. But it put me in a position to see all kinds of people. We weren't in the greatest neighborhood. It's not terrible, but there were a lot of people addicted to drugs. I mean, heavy drugs. We have a real problem in our county with meth is, I think, the worst, and then heroin and just some real issues. And because we're a secondhand store, you can bring things in and sell it to us. You can either sell something outright or you can put it on consignment and we'll pay you once it sells, that kind of thing. Well, we would get people come in that are absolutely strung out on drugs, and you learn to recognize that. It's pretty easy to see when somebody is. And they were selling things that just terrible things. Like the county here when you're pregnant and you're on aid, they give you like gift cards for Target and Walmart and stuff so that you can get things like strollers and car seats and all the things, cribs, the things that you need for your new baby coming. Well, these girls were getting those things, but then selling them to us and or trying to sell them to us, and it would infuriate me. And I'd be like, "How could you do that? It's for your baby." I wouldn't say that to them, but boy, when they're standing there in front of me trying to sell it, they got the dirty looks. They got the dirty looks. They got, I have a snide comment. I wasn't putting up with it, and I thought I was better than everybody, or better than them. And then I, turn to my coworkers and isn't that awful how, what they're doing and stuff like that. And I did that all the time. And then, or if somebody comes in and, just they have little kids and their kids are unkept and, their clothes are dirty or something, I'm judging them and saying this and that, and never having any clue what's going on in their life. But boy, I had an opinion. And I know, looking back on that now, I did that kind of thing because it just, again, I think it was all things that I feared. I never felt, I always worry that I wasn't the mother that I should have been for my sons, that I never did for them what I should have done because I dealt so much with fatigue and being tired. And so I am particularly harsh on mothers, and because that's a weakness of mine. I'm also particularly hard on people who, have weaknesses. I mean, we all do, but people who, are weak and then do drugs. Well, I didn't do drugs, but man, I had my own drugs. The issues of, I would overeat. My weight was up and down and up and down, and I was always looking for relief. So I would, be on nothing illegal. I never did anything illegal. I was scared to death to get in trouble. So, but I would get these like Vivarin pills that would try and where it says to take 1 or 2, I'd take 8. So it was stuff like that it was not good. So needless to say, that's the kind of thing that I did. So here's my story. So I'm reading the Bible now, and I'm starting to learn. This is years back, and reading that was tough for me because I realized, boy, I am going to be judged big time considering how I judge other people. So I was really trying to be conscious of that, but I still had, still fell back a lot. Well, there was this one woman that would come into our store. She was an older woman, and she and her husband would come in. Now, it was very clear and obvious that her husband had some form of dementia or Alzheimer's. He had no idea where he was, what he was doing, and he was real big. I remember thinking he was really tall. He was a big guy, and she was this teeny little thing, but she was brutal to him, brutal. She would just call him stupid and get over here, you idiot, and grabbing his arm and pulling him, to stop him from grabbing something. And I looked at her, I thought, you rotten so-and-so, how dare you do that? He's sick. He's got a problem. How can you treat him like that? And, all these things are running through my head. And man, I was mean to her. Every time she came in, I'd give her the look. I was rude to her. I, threw her money back at her. And I want her to know how mad I am at her for treating him that way. And every time she came in, it was this, she never said anything to me. She never, but I was cruel. Then one day, after reading all this and learning the things that I'm learning, she came in again, and it was a day she was particularly picking on him. And so I'm getting my nerve up, and I thought, today's the day. Today I'm going to say something. Today I'm just going to, get at her. And then God came in. Then Jesus came in. And I'm telling you, there was like this wave over me where all of a sudden my world turned completely a different direction. I now saw her point of view. I was aware of her suffering and her turmoil. And I was overwhelmed with compassion and sadness and love for this woman. And as she's walking by, when I was all set to just ream her, I grabbed her hand and I just held her hand and I said, you know what? This has got to be terribly, terribly hard for you. I'm going to pray for you, and I promise you, God's not going to leave you alone like this. Something is going to work out. I promise you. And she broke down crying, hysterically crying, and then started telling me the story. They have kids. They have a couple kids, and the kids live in other states, and none of them wanted to be bothered with their parents or the father and the father's situation. They don't have any money. She can't afford to put him in a home. She didn't want to leave him in a state facility because she loves him and doesn't want him to be in a place that might not take care of him the way that they should. But she was extremely overwhelmed, extremely overburdened. I'm just imagining her trying to. It was clear that he had like diapers on, it, that he needed that kind of help. But he was huge, and she's this teeny little thing, and she did all that, and she did it alone, and she had no help, and she's bawling her eyes out. And I thought, oh my gosh, I judged this woman so harshly and was going to scream at her for being a horrible woman when she basically gave up her life for years to take care of him so he wouldn't have to go into a state facility because they couldn't afford anything else. And she's overwhelmed beyond belief, and it just came out in anger. And I just realized so profoundly when God did that to me, when he turned my vision around, when he made me see her point of view. And I did everything I could for her. I ended up trying to find numbers for her to call where she can get aid, and churches that might be able to help her, where maybe she can go out for an hour or two and somebody can come in and help. It made me realize to turn things around. And I did that. And it helped her. I know it did. It just, she was so relieved. And it just, when she would come in after that, how you doing? And she had a smile on her face for once. And it just made me realize that all the times that I would judge the drug addict who would come in, or the poor pregnant teenager who was selling a car seat because she had no idea what to do. How dare I think for 1 second that I understand or that I know what somebody like that is going through? We don't. You know how rare it is that somebody is neglectful of children, or steals things, or does things that we look down on, doing drugs, all that. They're hurting people hurt people, and they're damaged, and there's something that they're missing in their life. There's something that they don't have. They've been abused. There's nobody, I don't think, on this planet is naturally that way, unless they're demon spawn. I think the majority of us, when people do those things, it's purely out of desperation or out of the fact that they don't know any better, that their whole lives have been that way. They're born from a mother who's addicted to crack. They're born from a mother who's a prostitute, or their father's in jail for shooting someone. I mean, they're a product of their environment, and yet I judge them. So that was such a wake-up call for me. And I consciously, every single day, when the second I start to judge, because it's a natural thing for me, I'll see somebody else like, oh my gosh, their shorts are so short, and something like that. And I realize that you cannot even begin to understand or know what somebody's going through, and how dare you judge. So I really try to turn it around. My dear friend, I'll never forget, I thought this was so wise. She said that, and she's a lot younger than me. She could be my kid, but she a girl came in once with these short shorts, and it's like her the butt cheeks are hanging out and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, how gross! What a whore! You know, this and that. This is before I had my lesson. And she says, you know, I look at it, I think, God, that's awesome that she's got that much confidence. My friend said that. She's like, how awesome is it that she, you know, thinks highly of herself and doesn't care what people think. And I thought, wow, what a perspective. You know, even if it doesn't matter what her reasons were. Was she trying to be promiscuous? Was she confident? The point is I don't know. And my friend decided to see the good in it. And I thought, bravo. I mean, another lesson I learned from somebody. And the key is that when you see these things and people point out stuff to you and you have these experiences, learn from them. They're happening in your life for a reason, and make a conscious effort to change. So that was huge for me, absolutely huge for me. So now I don't go into the grocery store. I don't go anywhere where I'm not in that line and the cashier's standing there. I don't care what it is. I will compliment something, whether it be their hair, their nails. If it's a young man, I'll say you've got a great personality, your confidence. I have to say something to somebody because I realize how important it is just to be noticed, especially from a stranger who sees something really good in you. And for them to actually say it. You can change somebody's life with just a few simple words in a grocery line. That's it. It's amazing the power that we have with our words and how we can affect people in a good way, in a positive way. And you hear about people like being in a checkout line or like at a drive-through and they'll pay for the person behind you, and that's awesome. That is great, and somebody gets a free meal and things like that are outstanding. But I've discovered in my own life, when people have taken the time to be kind to me, to say something to me, not even a gesture like paying for something to Brian's, which you should do. I think that's awesome to do. But just that they cared enough to take the time to be kind to me, to say something sweet, made all the difference in the world. And you have no idea. You literally can save somebody from killing themselves that day. I mean, it sounds drastic, but it's not. It's the absolute truth. And I just hope from my experience that it could be something that you've learned, that you have no clue what's going on in somebody's life. And instead of automatically going to the worst, which the devil wants you to think and wants you to judge, think of why they might be doing what they're doing. Because I guarantee to you, anybody who's doing anything that is improper or immoral or dangerous is usually a very hurt, wounded person. So let's keep that in our heads and say a prayer for them, and say something nice to them. Even if you have to pull it out of the air, find something nice to say to them. Take the time to stop and the chance to just say, hey, you know what, you look like you're having a rough day. I'll say a prayer for you. And if they get mad, they get mad. But I have never found that. I have never, ever found that anybody has either walked away or been mad at me, or they're so grateful. They're so grateful. So that's my lesson today. And I pray that God blesses you, and I hope you watch more of my videos. I'm planning on getting more out, and I'm going to tell you again in each video some lesson that I've learned. So God bless you guys. Take care and have a great day. Bye.